A Russia-linked state actor was caught exploiting a zero-day in Microsoft's MS-HTML framework before the patch even hit the streets. It's a classic APT28 move, and it's our lead story today.
I'm Morgan, that's Alex. We've got a lot to unpack today, from critical flaws in Office software to a massive Microsoft license fraud scheme that finally caught up with its architect. Let's break it down.
Let's start with the heavy hitters on the vulnerability front. First up is CVE 2026-3422. This is a critical flaw in a product called Office Force, which is developed by a company called eExcellence. It's sitting at a 9.8 out of 10 on the severity scale.
9.8? That's about as bad as it gets. What's the actual mechanism here? Is this another one of those don't even need a password situations?
Exactly. It's an insecure deserialization vulnerability. Essentially, an unauthenticated attacker can send a specifically crafted piece of data to the server, and when the server tries to process that data, or deseriate it, it ends up executing whatever code the attacker tucked inside. It's a direct path to a full server takeover.
Insecure deserialization. That's a bit of a throwback, isn't it? It feels like we've been talking about this specific class of bug for a decade, yet it keeps popping up in enterprise Office suites. If you're running Office Force, you're basically leaving the front door unlocked and the safe open.
It really is a fundamental coding error. And speaking of critical flaws, we have a pair of issues hitting the IDExpert Windows logon agent, developed by a company called Changing. These are CVE 2026-2999 and CVE 2026-3000.
Wait, IDExpert? That's the software that handles how users actually log into their Windows machines, right? That seems like a very dangerous place to have a vulnerability.
It's the worst possible place. Both of these are remote code execution flaws. CVE 2026-2999 allows an attacker to force the system to download and run an executable file from a remote source. CVE 2026-3000 is almost identical, but it focuses on downloading and executing DLL files.
So let me get this straight. If I'm an attacker, I don't even need to be logged in. I just reach out to a machine running this logon agent and tell it, hey, go grab this malicious file from my server and run it with system privileges?
That's the gist of it. Since the logon agent has to run at a high privilege level to do its job, any code it's tricked into running also gets those high privileges. It's a 9.8 out of 10 for a reason. If you're using IDExpert for your Windows environment, you need to be looking at these patches immediately.
It's interesting. Both of these lead stories involve unauthenticated remote access. It's a reminder that the perimeter isn't just your firewall. It's every single service you have listening for a connection. Speaking of things listening for connections, let's talk about that APT28 story you teased at the top.
Right. This is about CVE 2026-21-1513. It's a high-severity flaw in the Microsoft MS-HTML framework. Akamai researchers found evidence that APT28, the group often linked to Russian military intelligence, was exploiting this before Microsoft could even release the patch in February.
MS-HTML again. I feel like we've been here before. Wasn't it just a couple of years ago that we saw similar zero days being used in phishing campaigns? It's like the gift that keeps on giving for state-sponsored groups.
You're spot on. MS-HTML is the engine behind how Windows renders certain types of web content, and it's deeply integrated into things like Outlook. This specific flaw is a security feature bypass. Essentially, it allows an unauthorized actor to break through the protections Microsoft put in place to keep malicious content from interacting with the rest of the system.
And because it's APT28, we're likely looking at highly targeted spear phishing. They find a hole in the framework, craft a document or an email that triggers it, and they're in. Akamai's report really highlights how these groups are constantly scanning for these protection mechanism failures to stay one step ahead of the patch cycle.
It's a constant arms race. And it's not just the old-school frameworks being targeted. We're seeing it in the newest tech, too. Look at what happened with Google Chrome and the Gemini AI panel.
Oh, I saw this. CVE 2026-0628. This one is fascinating because it involves malicious extensions hijacking the Gemini Live AI assistant. We're all rushing to put AI in everything, and it turns out We're just creating new ways to get hacked.
Exactly. The researchers found that a malicious extension could use a flaw in the WebView tag to escalate its privileges. Once it did that, it could basically spy on your Gemini live sessions, steal files, and see everything the AI assistant had access to.
That's the scary part. We talk to these AI assistants like they're private confidants. If an extension can just sit there and listen to that stream of data because of a privilege escalation bug, that's a massive privacy nightmare. Google did patch this in early January, but it shows that the AI surface area is the new frontier for attackers.
It really is. Now, let's pivot to something a bit different. A bit of justice served news. A woman in Florida was just sentenced to 22 months in prison for a massive Microsoft license fraud scheme.
I remember reading about this. She wasn't just selling some cheap keys on eBay. This was a years-long operation, trafficking thousands of stolen Microsoft Certificate of Authenticity labels, or COA labels.
Right, those little holographic stickers that come on the bottom of laptops or on software boxes. She was running a sophisticated scheme to move these stolen labels, which basically allowed people to authenticate pirated or unlicensed software. It's a multi-million-dollar hit to the ecosystem.
It's a reminder that cybercrime isn't always about complex code or 0 days. Sometimes it's just good old-fashioned fraud and trafficking of physical assets that represent digital trust. 22 months in prison is a significant sentence, but it shows how seriously the feds are taking the secondary market for stolen licensing.
To wrap things up, let's look at something a bit more forward-thinking. Google is working on something called Merkle tree certificates for Chrome. This is all about preparing for the quantum apocalypse.
Quantum-resistant HTTPS. This feels like one of those things that's 5 years away, until suddenly it's not. Google is basically saying they aren't going to just add traditional certificates with post-quantum math to the root store, because it's not efficient enough.
Right. Merkle tree certificates are a different way of handling trust that should be much more scalable when we eventually have to switch to algorithms that can't be cracked by a quantum computer. It's Google trying to build the plumbing for the next 20 years of the web today.
It's proactive, which we don't see enough of in this industry. Usually, we're reacting to things like APT28 or a 9.8 severity bug in a logon agent. It's nice to see some engineering focused on a problem we know is coming down the road.
Agreed. But for today, the priority is definitely the here and now. If you're managing Windows environments, check those IDExpert agents and make sure your MS-HTML patches are current. Those are the doors being kicked in right now.
Your daily AI-powered security briefing. If this saved you time, subscribe. We're here every morning.
Stay patched, stay paranoid.